I'll tell you. I would like to mention more of the problems that happened after Jeanett wrote her letter. I had developed probably about 80 different friends from Oda. Friends who I'd bought things from, friends that I'd started making connections with in Oda. And after Jeanett wrote that letter, half of them defriended me. After Jeanett wrote that letter, first thing that comes to mind is, should I apologize? Because I'm sure Jeanett lost. I think she had like 20,000 Instagram followers in her fishing thing. So Jeanett encourages me to come to her town. It has to kind of be a secret because she's afraid that she's going to lose a bunch of her followers if it's immediately discovered that she's probably starting a relationship with me. So it's kept quiet. And then things don't turn out exactly how she wants them to turn out. Then she writes a letter to try to get the attention back on her. I lose half of the people that supported me in the town. I lose half of those people who were following me on Facebook. Now I think, including the principal, because of the political pressure they had to keep me as their friend on Facebook because of Jeanett's stupid letter. The principal, who was telling me that everything's going to work out, defriended me on Facebook. The principal. And he was one of the ones encouraging me, telling me that everything was going to work out. He had to defriend me because of Jeanett's letter, because of the political ramifications of what that meant. Because she's calling me a stalker. Even though the letter's a joke, and I'm supposed to what? Because kids are reading this letter, so she's trying to get these kids back on her side, and I'm supposed to be the bad guy because they don't understand how that letter was designed to appeal to the adults, and then the kids were also meant to run away from it. Now, we keep focusing on all this stuff. There isn't that many people over there following this. When I first came to Oda, there were several people that smirked at Jeanett, that thought it was kind of, it was ridiculous that she was saying she was a professional fisherwoman. She wasn't saying that she was a professional fisherwoman. She started something that I respected, and I still respect it, through all this bullshit and all this crap and all this stupid political drama. I can see why she's done everything that she's done, but some of it, the letter was wrong. Because it was designed to cut me down, so she could regain some of those people that were her friend, that these kids and things probably that liked me. There were kids standing outside of the grocery store by the time I left, waiting for me to come out. So she was probably pissed off that I captured some of these friends of hers. Maybe, I don't know. She was encouraging me to come there, to come back. So, but there's no proof of it because you can immediately erase all those things. With the way it's all set up now, she can defriend me. All her likes vanish because she was liking my pictures when I was there. Anyways, it doesn't matter. You can even look at her pictures. She hasn't deleted her pictures. You can see that she was. I could tell you the story about all the pictures and how this one meant this and this one meant that to us, to Jeanett and I. So all that I want to say is that more problems that happened for me, fallout from that stupid letter, was about half of the people that I became friends with in Oda had to defriend me because of the political ramifications of what it meant. Now, I think over there, this was more of a kind of a game. It was like a chess move. Like over there, there's all this emphasis and this kind of analogies are always made to chess. Like I was saying in one of those notes that I wrote. It's like the police and all these people. They have so little crime and so little problems that the everyday dramas of life that we kind of ignore become more kind of scenarios over in Norway, more possibilities. It's like the idea that who's going to make what move next and what it might mean. Whereas I'm an American, it's like Americans are like they move so much faster, and they just, the entrepreneurs, the ones that go out, they just like take advantage of every possible thing that you can do, and you just work and you make it happen. You don't plot out all these scenarios and political moves to make it happen, and that's more of how it happens over there in Europe. There's more of these it's more thought out, like chess strategy, whereas me as an American, it's just like we just go to opportunities and we take in as many as we can. It doesn't work that way in Norway exactly. It's more of this process of chess moves. So this letter that Jeanett wrote was more of a chess move. So then I retained, 40, 50 friends, and then I lost maybe 30 after Jeanett wrote that letter, and they're still friends of mine. You can see they still follow me because you can see that they're right up in the very front, but they can't visually follow me. See, and I feel like all this is again, it's a way to test me to see if I really want to stay there, and there's nothing that's going to change that. I'm going to come back there and do that. This is what I decided to do. So it doesn't, and I know what it's like in a small community. And Oda isn't a small community. It's got like 8,000 people, and it's a tourism-driven community. It's very quiet there in the winter. So all the tourists that come, they're not involved in the drama of a small town. And most tourists know what it's like to live in a small town. So and I know all these things. So there's nothing that's gonna stop me from wanting to come back there. I don't think that everyone's gonna be out to get me because there's nothing that I did. There's nothing that I did. All I did was good things. Buy a car, buy a historic building that hadn't been worked on in years. There are lots of people in the town that got to know me that aren't my friends on Facebook. But I just need to mention this because another thing that happened because of Jeanett's letters, I lost, several of my friends that were following me, including the principal. And the principal was a man who was encouraging me and telling me all along that everything was going to work out. So you see, so the whole time I didn't talk about any of this stuff right after Jeanett wrote the letter because it didn't. When I read the letter, after being sent home from the country after doing so much, her letter really wasn't. It was like just a blip on the radar. It didn't matter. I wasn't going to flip out and have some immediate reaction to it because I didn't care about it. You had to read the letter, and I still believe that it wasn't intended to like necessarily harm me. It was mainly intended to. I still believe it was intended. I don't still believe it, but I could see how it was. I don't care now because the problem now is I have people writing profiles on my business page saying that I was kicked out of Norway because I was a stalker because of the letter, and that isn't what happened. That's not what happened. I wasn't kicked out of Norway because I was a stalker. The crime that was committed was that I was forced to leave Norway because I accidentally stayed too long, and there was no warning for me. The letter that I was supposed to have gotten, I got the letter after the date had passed. They also send emails, but it's one of these things where you're getting letters, you're getting emails. You have a sense that there's time for things to happen, so it's not like you're sitting. You can't. I was working all the time. I was working every day. I wasn't like running home, opening up the mailbox. I'd gotten one letter from my sister in the whole 6 months that I'd been there. So it wasn't like I was like thinking. You would have thought they would have come up to me and said, "Leif, you got to get going. You got to go now because you're stayed too long. You're past. You would have thought something like that would have happened first. I'd committed no crime. I was never in trouble with anything. When my headlights on my car burnt out, I didn't drive my car for a week because I didn't want to break any rules. There's why would I have been trying to? Why would I have been a person? There's no proof that I thought that I was above the law and thought that I could somehow manage to stay there. I was filling out, I was spending hours and hours and hours filling out, writing pages about my business, getting letters of recommendation from people, including our sheriff in my community, my parents who were both artists who started the pottery where I learned how to make art, teachers, friends in the town, all these people I was collecting letters of recommendation from, driving from Bergen and back, doing interviews with the police, having photographs taken for the whole package to send to the immigration to get this. I was doing all these things. Why would I have thought that I was above the law and somehow could have stayed there if I just was a tough guy and didn't leave? Why would I? There's no proof that I was posting things on Facebook every single day, showing that I was there. I was walking past the police station every single day. I think I ended up staying, maybe it was like 10 days. Maybe 2 weeks is what the total amount of time was that I had stayed over the limit. Thank you, Marcy. Now those are the kinds of things that need to be said more. People are afraid to stand up for me, just like they were afraid to like Jeanett's pictures when I first started following her. People didn't believe it. They didn't want to show any support for it all because they just, what is it about me that causes this? It's because I do things no one else has done. I figure out a way to do them. People are unsure because I'm the one that's figured out that you can do it. So then people are unsure and they can't support me. So then something like this happens and look at me. Who's there to stand up for me? What, some lawyer that I'm going to pay thousands of dollars to? No, this isn't high school anymore where you have teachers and people that got to get to know you. This is real life, and I'm 40 years old now, single man. My mom got a prank phone call the other day from some jerk that keeps calling us. He has to talk about all these, make all these comments, suggesting that I'm a middle-aged man. How he's afraid to take his kids up to our tile gallery because I'm a middle-aged man and I was a stalker in Norway. We're getting prank calls like that from this letter that Jeanett wrote, and I'm just supposed to do nothing. So that's why I'm speaking up about this now. I mean, I don't even know what to continually try to tell you guys that I'm a good man. Willow, the woman that quit my business right before I went to Norway. Not long before I went to Norway, unexpectedly she quit. I think she was making $40,000 a year. From the very beginning, she thought she was wheeling and dealing with me. Positioning herself to have leverage, looking at me as this evil, as a boss that was trying to play her, whereas I was a boss that was trying to utilize her. As the business grew, I would utilize her. And she had to start doing this stupid leverage thing, testing me, bringing her child to the art fairs to see if I was going to get mad at her. She ended up quitting, basically, because I wouldn't fire her. So then she could get. So then, if I would have fired her, she would have gotten unemployment. But I wouldn't fire her because I didn't hire her full time. I hired her whenever she wanted to do stuff because she had all these things going on in her life, and that's what I became aware of. So I let her do whatever she wanted to do. Then she took advantage of it, and she was trying to get unemployment. So she tried to do bad things that would piss me off, so that I would fire her, and I wouldn't fire her. So she ended up quitting. It was this big drama crap that affected my business. December, just before I was getting ready to go to Norway in March. She did that in December. And if she would have stayed, see, the thing is I can't just start rewarding. I rewarded her. I gave her 5 raises. I gave her small incremental raises. I gave her a percentage of her sales at art fairs. I did lots of things for her. She worked for me. She went from $12 an hour when she started to making $35,000 that year, or the next year. there was no job, and the one problem is she had to drive from Traverse City back and forth. Boo hoo! My mom drove from Sutton's Bay to Traverse City for 40 years for the phone company. Boo hoo that she had to drive to Traverse City. She was a single mother. Okay, but I gave her allowances. She showed up late all the time. She had to call in sick all the time. I dealt with it. So she quits because in December, right before I go to OTA in March, she quits. I still have Susan, but then we all know what happened to Susan. Susan's daughter died like a month before I went to OTA. And I already planned on meeting Jeanett. I made these tiles. This is what I was going to do. I had to do it then. I mean, do you think Jeanett would have waited if I had taken 2 more years to reorganize the business after that happened? She probably wouldn't have waited. Who knows? So if Willow had stayed and worked for me, she probably would be making about $60,000, $70,000. Who knows how much she would be making at this point? She was a really good glazer. She was fast at glazing. She could do art fairs. I gave her raises. She was making $35,000 a year, $40,000 I think, $38,000 I think she made after working for me for 2 years. She had never. I bet you she had made. So if she had stayed with me, she would have been in the main. She would have been. She would have been she would have been the person in the business. She would have been the only one left. I mean, she would have been she would have had such amazing benefits with the whole. I mean, I don't. You know what I mean? She would have been doing the art fairs, getting more of a percentage of all those things. You see, I'm a fair guy. I'm a good guy. I plan things out. She didn't think I was planning things out. She thought I was using her. She thought I was taking advantage of her. She wasn't. She wanted more. She wasn't ready to wait for me to see how the chips fell, to get the taxes done. She wasn't ready for me. She was too impatient. She didn't trust me, even though I already given her like 5 raises. She went from $12 an hour to the first year she worked for me. I don't know how much she made, 20-some thousand. To the second year, she made $38,000. And she quits. Another example of just stupidity. Someone who just wasn't willing to trust that I knew what was going on, and that someone that had her nose too much into my business. She doesn't know my expenses, but she knows how much I make. An employee who doesn't know her employer's expenses, but she knows how much I make. She was not entitled to any of the money that I made for the 15 years or the 13 years up until she started working for me. Those 13 years where I worked for myself, these employees that all of a sudden started working for me after I'd done all that work myself, they weren't entitled to any of that came before them. That was for me. They had to work for it and make their way into my business. And I feel like I'm the most fair person that are out there, letting them always come late, letting them not show up. Single mothers, women who were hitting on me, realizing that I wasn't interested, then quitting. I mean,